There are more single women in the church today than ever. And if you find that you are one of them, you're going to want to watch this video because I'm going to discuss why and how this happens, and more importantly, what to do about it. So stick around. Hi, and welcome to my channel. I am Portia the Communicator, your trusted mental health life coach, and I help women get into the long-term relationships and partnerships that they desire and deserve. I want to give a special shout out to all the new subscribers here who have joined the tribe. Thank you. And if you are new here, if I say anything that resonates with you, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't done so already, share this information if you know it can be beneficial for someone else, and join the conversation in the comments. I always love to hear from you. So to quickly dive in this video, we are going to be discussing, is the church keeping women single? Why and how it happens, and what we can do about it. But before I begin, I do want to say this. Although I may make some blanket statements about toxicity in the church, I am not saying that this is every church. However, there are far too many, along with mainstream media voices that reiterate the same narratives. And so I just want to put this out there that we cannot heal what we refuse to acknowledge, what we refuse to address. We can't heal what we continue to ignore or dismiss. And I say we because this is myself included, having grown up in the church with a theological background. I am not telling you my opinions or things that I've heard. These are my lived experiences. These are my personal observations. And these are also facts that are backed by statistical data. So let's get into it. Why women end up single in the church. One of the biggest things is constantly hearing sermons and messages about waiting on God. This keeps you disempowered, never active, always hoping, forever wishing, sitting on the sidelines in desperation, in a sea full of other women, because newsflash, men aren't going to church like that. They kind of stopped a long time ago, or at least they're not attending in the droves like women are. The other issue in tandem with that is the fact that the church does not encourage you to date outside of the four walls either, which keeps you even the more limited to your options when it comes to the dating or relationship pool. So when you are told to just sit and wait and pray and hope, and you're expecting to find your Boaz in the congregation or to come riding through the church doors down the aisle to your pew, it's likely not going to happen, because how many times has it happened for anybody else? How many times has it happened for you? If that were the case, if it was how it worked, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, and the statistics wouldn't show that there are over 60% single women in congregations across America. So when you're not taught or shown how to attract, what to do while you're waiting, how to explore your options, because another thing with this is purity culture. You're not taught to explore your options in dating. You are looked upon like the woman with the scarlet letter if you are seeing more than one man at a time. And people often in the church equate entertaining and dating a man with sleeping with him, and that's not necessarily the case at all. You can go out with multiple people at the same time and not be sexually intertwined. And so because there's this purity culture that is often the underlying fabric when it comes to dating and relationships in church, we are often siloed to one person at a time or no one at all. And we're not really able to see the best options that are available to us because we're automatically upfront giving our loyalty and our commitment to one man, even if he's not the best man. The second reason why women primarily remain single in the church is because Christianity at large is patriarchal. If you look at the priests, if you look at the majority of the pastors, if you look at the majority of the leadership, it is all male dominated. In more recent years, women have been coming a bit more into the forefront, but nothing in comparison to the men who have led the church since its inception. And so because of that, this is another way in which women are often seen and not heard, or not seen and not heard, because women are primarily in these spaces fighting for their right to be valued, to be seen, to be chosen, to be in leadership, to be able to serve in certain capacities. And a lot of times women are forbidden because they're not a man. And so when you're constantly being told to sit back and rest in the shadows and not come out there and show yourself and to move full-fledged in your gifts and your callings and to do all of those things, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so if you have been conditioned in the church environment to play small, to be hidden, to not move full-fledged in who you are fully and authentically, you end up playing small in other places of your life. You end up not being seen and not feeling heard in other areas and avenues of your life, because so much of the programming and indoctrination that happens in a lot of these spaces, it spills out into other areas of life. So we're waiting for someone else to give us permission. So we end up doing that at the job. We end up doing that in our friend circles. We end up doing that in dating. We're waiting for someone else to choose us and to pick us and to see us, because that is how we have been wired and trained to be in church. Now, outside of just being single, there's the other side of it where you get into a relationship, but is it really healthy is the question. And a lot of times, my experiences included, we as women in church end up in some of the most craziest and dysfunctional relationship dynamics, because we are often told, you don't question God, you don't also question your pastor. So now it's not just spiritual, it's trickled down to man. And when we don't practice doing our own research, thinking for ourselves, which is what we're never encouraged to do in church, it's just believe by faith, when we go along to get along, when someone finally does show up in the picture, we're so eager to just have someone. We oftentimes aren't asking the questions we need to. We typically don't even know the questions to ask. And so we find ourselves ignorant of the red flags that are walking around presenting themselves probably the entire time, or we are all the more willing to ignore them because of the belief that God can turn it around. God can fix it. And so we find ourselves in prayer on our knees, speaking things into existence, trying to change a man who has shown us from the beginning he ain't it. But we don't know that because we've never been taught that. We've never been taught to do our due diligence, most of us anyway, in a lot of church settings. Which leads me to point number 4. There's this ever looming belief that you have to go through the fire to receive the blessings of God. No, but all jokes aside, you've heard the scriptures, count it all joy if you go through various trials, or what's another one? Put on the whole armor of God so that you may be able to withstand the wiles of the devil. These are all New Testament scriptures, but the point remains the same. You're expecting to be in spiritual warfare, and it's because of the indoctrination of suffering brings glory. So if he's not treating you right, just pray for him. Just take it to the altar. He'll act right eventually. You'll get the husband and the promises of God that you've been believing for. That type of thing. Or this is a big one. Forgive like Jesus forgave you. So there's this guilt consciousness that we have about calling a spade sometimes and walking away. There's the manipulative aspect, sometimes even coming down from leadership, that will have a woman stay in a terrible relationship because they're trying to fulfill some ideology that is completely unhealthy and abusive in some cases. So when you live with this idea of eternal forgiveness. It doesn't matter what you're put through. It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter. All the signs are saying, stop, do not go, because there's this constant belief that God is going to bless a mess, or that you're supposed to just deal with it and suck it up because this is just how relationships are. No, it's not. But I digress. When that belief system is there, it's very difficult to break away and experience a life and a partnership of love and ease when you've been programmed and wired to fight all the time spiritually, when you've been programmed to have to be on the battlefield for God. Again, how we do one thing is how we do everything. So what you believe in general is what you will apply to every situation really in your life. And this is why we saw what we saw on the Dear Future Wifey podcast, where I think the woman was talking about ironing her husband's clothes, knowing he was going to go see his side chick. Yeah, stuff like that. The last thing I'll say concerning women being primarily single in church is the immense sin consciousness that many of us live with. We are constantly battling mentally with, oh God, am I in right standing with the Lord? Am I walking in sin if I'm, premeditating something? Let me give you a prime example. Because of this sin consciousness, a lot of women will find themselves very rigid or closed off around men. We simply don't know how to interact healthily with the opposite sex because so much of that interaction is demonized. If you look at somebody, you're lusting. If you touch them, you're going to hell. If you have sex, oh my God, you're going with gasoline draws on. And even further is the fear of using contraception, birth control, or buying condoms, because if you do that ahead of time, now it's premeditated, now you're in sin, and now you're putting yourself at extreme sexual risk. If something does happen, you are completely out there. Ask me how I know. And so because there is this fear of getting close to men in certain ways, because we're so afraid of sin and going to hell, we don't know how to healthily interact with the opposite sex. We're afraid to do so much. We close ourselves off. I won't even get into the trauma of it all outside of church that we bring into church that's never fully addressed. However, if what I have said in this video has resonated with you, let me know in the comments. Does any of this ring true for you? Now, if you're wondering what you can do about it, I am just going to be honest with you and say it does require a level of deconstruction religiously, because until you are able to truly dissect what is truth and reality and real and healthy and right for you, it will often be very difficult to break away from the paradigm and the narrative and the experiences that you're having as a chronically single woman who is stuck in that in church. And so if you are looking for ways to do it in a safe space, if you are looking for the tools, I have a program titled Rewire for Love, and it is designed specifically for women, but more specifically for women like you and me, who have been in the church environment, who have experienced everything that I'm talking about. It is designed to help you rid yourself of negative, toxic theological belief systems that have kept you stuck in a place that you haven't wanted to be when it's come to your relationship and romantic life. And so if you are interested in working with me one-on-one to do that, not just to come out of and heal from the beliefs that have kept you where you've been. I'm not trying to get rid of your Christianity. That's not what we're doing here. But if you are wanting to get in a more balanced place so that you can actually learn how to bring the love that you want into your life, book a free consultation call with me. It's absolutely free. And let's discuss how to jumpstart your relationship transformation immediately. Now, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone else who you know needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already so you don't miss out on any upcoming coaching content. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, to converse with me. Yes, that's right. Drop down in the comments and let me know how this video has hit for you and also what else you would like for me to discuss next. Until the next video, I hope you stay blessed, take care, and bye for now. Peace.